All right, we have successfully shaded in the forms of our flat shapes here. Now let's go on to our next round form, the cone. So when it comes to shading the cone, okay, I want you guys to pay attention to the difference between the shape of the cone. This taper is going to be the difference between, or sorry, the taper on the cone is going to be the difference between how we're going to shade this cone and this cylinder. So if we look at our reference, okay, you'll notice that the top of our dark shadow here is like smaller than the bottom here. So what I've seen some students do, I'm just going to show you on the back here with this cone that I'm going to draw. What I've seen some students do in the past is they treat the cone the same way that they treat the cylinder, and they will just follow this line and go straight across like that. Okay, this is incorrect. I'm doing it quickly so it looks extra bad here, but do not just go straight across where one side goes darker to lighter. Okay, this is not the way. Okay, notice this width right here is the same as this width here, and that's no bueno. All right, we want to have our cone, just drawing another one, we want to have our cone go from thin dark area down to a thicker dark area at the bottom. Okay, and I'll show you what I mean. So instead of going like that, right, we're going to return to this top point here, and sort of like a fan, right? And we want this bottom to have a wider dark area than the top, as you can see I'm providing here. Okay, so that's how you would want to do it, where the bottom is wider, this gradient is wider at the bottom than it is at the top. You can kind of imagine it like if you got your gradient here, right, where it's even all the way across, you pinched the top, okay, kind of like you're picking up a cloth or something, right? You're pinching the top, so the bottom stays flared out, but the top gets pinched tighter together. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look here. Remember, gradients means we are slowly changing the value from one to another. I'm going to erase these lines here just so I have a better view of what I'm working with. And if you need to, what you can do is you can draw lightly these guidelines to show you how your gradient is supposed to transition. Okay, so I'm going to draw them really light there. I don't know if you're able to see that. Okay, you can see those guidelines. Okay, you see how it's thinner at the top and wider at the bottom. Okay, let's see if I can just focus in on this cone. There we go. All right, so we're gonna have our dark value here all the way to the bottom. Make sure we don't go outside the line. Okay, and I'm slowly gonna get lighter as I move across, but I'm making sure that it fits and slowly gets smaller. This dark area gets smaller as I reach the top, right? So there's my dark area, and now I'm moving into the medium. Like so. And again, this medium area is going to be thinner up at the top. Now we're moving into our lighter area. So remember, changing the pressure as we move across. I want you to also pay attention right here, right? You don't really see where I'm like overlapping them because I'm slowly building that up. I'm not going over it too many times. And then up top here, we're getting lighter, okay? Or sorry, smaller and thinner, where the cone is getting smaller up top. All right. And then I'll just fix up this bottom part here, match the values with a thin gradient down low. And that is how you would shade a cone, okay? Again, look at the difference between the shading on the cylinder and the shading on the cone. We have an equal shading from here and here, right? Like this width, this transition is the same. Whereas if I go straight down, right, it's wider towards the bottom and it's thinner towards the top, or more narrow towards the top, okay? And again, no line visible except at the bottom, but I can erase that line because it is light enough. And right here, once I put that background around it, that dark background, that line is gone. And that is how you shade in a cone.